Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make donuts both for sale and home consumption without having to use eggs and milk. So firstly is that I've already put my 5 spoons of sugar in the mixing container, and I'm going to put in my half a teaspoon to be very specific of salt, and I'm going to be also using yeast. Yeast is a must-have in this recipe because it's what makes the donuts soft, it's what makes them raised. So I'm going to be putting 3/4 of the yeast into the sugar and the salt. And yes, make sure that your measurements are very proportionate. One thing you should know is that the sugar should be more than anything else, and the yeast shouldn't be a lot. So I'm going to be putting in water in the yeast and the sugar, and I'm going to in the yeast and the sugar and the salt, and I'm going to be mixing them. The reason why I put salt in this is to make the donuts have that sweet, delicious kind of taste. Yeah, so I'm mixing them, and the reason is that I need the yeast to dissolve. Yes, sometimes you can, if you have enough time. When I was doing this video I didn't have enough time, but if you have enough time you can let it to sit for about 2 hours, and then by the time you come back your yeast should have raised, depending on how much sugar you put in. If you put in very less sugar, you don't expect it to raise that much. So after that my yeast was almost ready, so I put in my already filtered baking flour. Yes, put in flour in the water and the yeast that you already mixed and the sugar. So put in the flour, mix little by little, little by little. If you put in a lot, it's going to be very hard for you to make very smooth and flawless dough that doesn't have certain components of unmixed flour. So I'm going to be adding in a little water so that I can make a lot of dough. That's to be able to make 2 dozens of donuts for my family, and some are going to be for sale. So you can add in water to the consistency that you want. Make sure that you don't put in a lot of water, because consequently the taste of this dough is not going to be there at all. So be very careful the amount of water that you put in. So this is the last flour that I'm pouring in, and yeah, I'll be using my hand to knead because I'm trying to put the dough together using a spoon, but then after this I'm going to be using my hands to knead so that I make it very nicely and very compact without any kind of dusty stuff inside of dough that doesn't have a mixture of water. I hope you guys understand. So you guys can see I've already made my dough, but it's really sticky, and with time when I let it to rest it could also harden. So on the side you guys can already see a black container. That container contains vegetable oil. You can use any kind of oil to your preference. So I'm going to be putting that oil in the dough to make it non-sticky and also to give it the soft complex in it, so that's when I fry them or when I put them in the oven, depending on the kind of means that you'll use. In this method I'm going to be using oil. They are not hard inside, okay? They are not hard inside. So yeah, we'll need with the oil inside, make sure it dissolves very well in the dough, and yeah, knead it to your consistency. Sometimes the dough may be a bit sticky, or you may fail to like hold it very tightly, so you can add a little bit of flour dust on top of it and knead it. So after kneading your dough, you put it in your container, and then you have to cover it either with foil or polythene or cover like this one, and then I'm going to leave it to sit for 2 hours plus. Yes, I left it to sit for 2 hours, and it's supposed to be like this. And if you had enough time, or if you do it longer than 2 hours, it's supposed to raise to the lid of your container. So after that, you have to come and punch out the air or knead it back to normal size, to a very tight size. If you don't do that, your donuts are going to be very, very airy. That is to say, they're not going to have, should I say, flesh or whatever inside them, so they're going to be very airy. So after this, I'm going to be kneading. I'm going to be starting to cut out the donuts, but I need to knead it until the air is out. So that's what I am doing, to punch out the air. So you can cut a certain portion that you can manage to roll, and then you're gonna need a rolling stick and some little bit of flour to sprinkle on your surface, so that the dough does not stick on the surface while you roll, because you're going to do this several times. So if you don't have a donut cutter, you can get any size that you like, the size of a lid that you like, which is actually what I'm going to be using, and then you cut out a round shape, and that is what I'm going to be doing very soon. As I finish to roll, I'm going to be putting that lid, this plastic lid, and I'm going to be cutting out my round dough. While you actually roll, do not make the dough so thin, make it medium size, because the yeast will raise. So that is how my donut looks like, and I'm going to put it on the side. Yeah, and we'll make several more. So right now, make sure that your oil is on medium temperature. I'm using a deep fryer. I'm very sorry with how it looks like, but it has been used to fry a lot of stuff way before this video was made, and that was during the day. But make sure that your oil, if you're using a deep fryer, it's not above, the heat of the oil is not above 150. So you have to put in the dough and then the donuts that you've already cut out, and then they should spend about 6 minutes maximum. So I'll be changing these donuts after about 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, yeah, to make sure that they don't get burnt on one side and they don't look burnt on the other side. They have to have a consistent color. So I'm going to be changing them after some few seconds. Please don't forget that the heat should never be a lot, because the color of the donuts could change when they are not ready on the inside. So you can see I've changed my donuts. They have that goldish color, and that is how they're supposed to be, because once they cool, they become darker. So if you let them to change from this golden color to a darker golden color, when they cool, they'll look like they are burnt. So we have to avoid that for both our own use, also if you're going to sell them. For these ones that I was making some for eating and some for selling. And yes, like I said, the donuts will only have to last about 6 minutes maximum in the oil, so that they do not get burnt, so that they get that very nice goldish color like you see. So to avoid them expanding on the top, the moment you put your donuts in the oil, please endeavor to change them after 30 seconds, so that they do not expand on the top, so that the yeast does not expand on the top, so that they have a very good consistency like the one you're seeing on top here. So after that, you can pull them out after 6 minutes. Make sure the oil is no longer dripping, and then you can put them on a serviette or a filter paper to draw out the excess oil. And yes, your donuts will be very ready for consumption. And here they are. Don't forget to put a thumbs up for this video.